What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40k. So this is going to be a Q&A video where I talk about the comments from the death of Warhammer 40k, a video that I made about a week ago that talked about what would happen if Warhammer 40k came close to its end times. So it did a lot better than I thought it would. The death of Warhammer 40k, I think the title alone grabs a lot of viewers to it, but at the end of the day, it did much better than I thought. So thanks for watching, thanks for commenting, and since it had so much traction, I'm going to be answering your questions that you left on that video. So if you guys don't have any idea what this is, the link is down below. Check out that video. Then if you have more questions, come back to this video and maybe I have answered it. So let's start with Tormod versus Azeroth. He asks, is this canon? Where do I read all of this? So no, this is my interpretation of what I believe Warhammer 40k will become when it achieves the end times and the beginning of Warhammer 50k. So for about a week or so, I did a lot of research as to what new events were going on beginning the 8th edition, because that's when really the lore started to pick up. Because for the longest time, GW was really stagnant on the lore for Warhammer 40k, and then with the new edition, the arrival of the Primarks Marines, their lore picked up and it progressed pretty quickly. So with that progression, I thought, hey, let me do a what if to showcase what I think, all the theories, all the lore, everything timeline-wise is going to become, and that's where I kind of went with it. And I knew I needed three big things. The starting point, which was the death of the Emperor, a big battle between Chaos and the Imperium, and then a new kind of galaxy to begin Warhammer 50k, and that is with the Emperor's ascension towards becoming a Chaos God and his new Army of the Light. So I think this would make sense lore-wise and as like a business model for GW, because now we have Legion of the Damned to create a whole new line of, because the Legion of the Damned, as awesome as they are, they have like no models. So with GW making like a Chapter Master, Dreadnoughts and that kind of stuff, clearly it's going to look really badass with the whole like fire and like skull aesthetic, so that's a new lineup. And then you have like the Saints / the Angels of the Emperor's Chaos Army, which would be the revived Primarks, Ferrus Manus, Sanguinius, and then you'd have the Saints, so like Saint Celestine, also have new sculpts and be playable, and that'd be pretty cool, because now they can go up against the Chaos Demon Primarks, which we've already got Mortarion and Magnus. Then we can add Lorgar to the mix, Angron, Fulgrim, and Perturabo, so I think that'd be pretty cool. But again, if you guys want more lore on this, go ahead and check out the video. Miguel Perez says, love the concept of Imperial Demon Sanguinius, Imperial Demon Ferrus Manus, and Saint Celestine being the biggies counter to the Chaos Demon Primarks. Like, it makes sense. But I think Corax would be there too, as he's been warp changed. So yeah, the thing about the missing Primarks that I don't have here, like Vulcan, Dorn, Jagdai Khan, Corax, Leman Russ, and many more, is that their stories need to be told later on. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, so hypothetically speaking, say if this is what would happen, and you bring in all of the Primarks, then what else do you have to look forward to? Like, you don't have a new Leman Russ storyline to see play out in the era of 50k because it'd already be covered. So it's kind of like the Primarks that I didn't talk about, they would be coming in 50k, just they wouldn't be part of the end times for 40k. So that's why they weren't included. So XSOR69X says, isn't the Emperor a perpetual? Yes. So you're right, the Emperor is a perpetual, meaning if he dies, he comes back to life, kind of like how Vulcan did when he was basically getting butchered and tortured by, not Corvus Corax, Conrad Kurz over and over again. But the Emperor's perpetuality, if that even is a phrase or a word, was rescinded in his ascension to become a god. So the thing that he preached to go against, like religion and all that, he wanted that to be abolished and be all about logic. But thanks to Lorgar and what became the Imperial Creed, he was being praised as a god, the God Emperor, and all this emotion began coalescing in the warp. And after the Emperor died, instead of his perpetualness reviving him, that got canceled out by all the warp beliefs of him being a god, and he became a chaos god. So that's the kind of avenue that I decided to take with that. I guess I could always say that the Emperor's corpse eventually will fix itself, and then you'd have like a flesh and blood emperor and a chaos god emperor. But I think things would be too crazy, although it'd be pretty cool to see how the Imperium would choose sides and how that split would break the Imperium. But at least for my interpretation, that's what I went with. But you could always make another story or infer about his perpetual status without making him a chaos god. This next question is by Bindi J. Hopefully the Tau will arise from their slumber one day, for the greater good. Mind you, what are the Necrons and the Tyranids doing while all this is going on? Can the God of Light burn them out of the galaxy? So to touch base on the Tau are done. Like, the Ethereals messed up on that big time. They basically said, we're going to build AI to protect us while we sleep, and then we'll wake up when the end times are over, and we'll deal with the galaxy at that point in time. No, that wasn't good, because the orcs that came out of the Ulanor crusade, the Octavius sector, whatever they're calling it nowadays, all that fighting with the Tyranids and whatnot made them bigger, stronger, faster, more bloodthirsty. And the thing about that is that these orcs are no longer green, because they fought for so long. Usually the darker and the longer an orc lives, the darker he gets. So these are now black orcs. Massive, almost beast level orcs that are just out for blood. And unfortunately for the Tau, these orcs managed to use their teleporters to bypass the drone defense system and go directly inside the sept worlds of the Tau, and they just butchered everything. 90% of the Tau in the sept worlds went to hibernation. The rest of the 10% plus the automated defense systems could not keep up, and the Tau were just systematically defeated. Yes, Farsight did step in, but even then the Farsight enclaves were also taken over by the Black Orcs. And it's a bleak existence because there's only one Tau left, and that is Farsight, who is being kept alive by the Dawnblade. So his immortality is kind of fueling his path towards revenge for his dying race. So that's what happened with the Tau. Now with the Necrons and the Tyranids, they're basically doing what they've always been doing. The Tyranids want to consume the Emperor's corpse because he was the beacon for the Astronomicon, and the theory was that the Astronomicon is what was making the Tyranids come into this galaxy. So once the hive mind devours the Emperor's corpse, something will happen. Who knows? So at this point in time, yeah, the Tyranids are still coming towards Terra, but again, since Chaos, his army, was going towards Terra too, the Tyranids kind of slowed it down and started devouring other planets that were left defenseless, because most of the Imperial forces were trying to defend Terra from Chaos at that point in time. Now with the Necrons, all the dynasties united, and they're all being led by the Silent King. The Silent King's pretty much just trying to take over the galaxy and also cut off the warp from coming back into this galaxy. So they've got their hands full reclaiming worlds, shutting off any warp storms. Eventually their end goal is to slice off the Cicatrix Maledictum with Necron pylons so that the warp cannot come into real space again. But again, they're doing the same thing as they're doing in 40k, just kind of being their own selves, fighting the Imperium and whatnot. This next one is by The Magic Goblin. Sisters of Battle turning from the Emperor even after death? Nah fam, that's where you lost me. That's just a bad take. Think about it this way. You've been getting miracles from the God Emperor, you've been praising him since you found out that he existed, and then out of nowhere, he takes your gifts away and he's dead. A god has died. That's a pretty big thing, because like, think of it like if you're religious, think of the God that you've been praying to since you were little, your parents prayed to him, and he just ceases to exist. That is crushing. Like, gods are supposed to be all powerful, all knowing. Like, there's no life or death for a god, they just exist always. And for something that you thought was that powerful, that eternal, is gone, it'll make you think, and it'll probably put you in a place where you don't want to be mentally and spiritually, and then that's when you'll start hearing whispers of chaos. So in my opinion, it would make sense that at least some of the Sisters of Battle would turn away to another god, such as Khorne, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, Nurgle, since they've always kind of been there, and they still do give boons where the Emperor gave them miracles. Now why not have a tentacle or an extra arm? So at least that's my interpretation of it. This next one is by Super Waffle King and Mechanized Satyr. He says, can't lie, I cried a little bit. Same. That's crazy, man. I didn't think this little story interpretation idea theory thing had that kind of effect on people. That just goes to show you that the characters, the storyline of Warhammer 40k transcends that of just like playing the tabletop and reading novels. Like, people really do get invested in these characters and seeing how they progress, seeing the trials and tribulations that they go through. Like, that does have effect on people. Again, this is all just like theories and speculation, but GW does have a lot to think about when they publish certain codices and novels. Because, like, for example, say your favorite character has been Mortarion, and then out of nowhere, this freaking new, like, Grandmaster comes out of nowhere and just curb stomps you. Like, yeah, that's going to get a lot of people upset. It's like, well, how can Drago take down a demon Primarch when, like, other Primarchs couldn't? So the life, the events, the characters that we all have known throughout the years and have played on the tabletop and painted and built, like, they have impressions on us. So sometimes emotional. So that's pretty cool that you guys can relate to the story of Warhammer 40k on that type of level. I don't think I'm that good when it comes to writing or anything like that, but I appreciate the sentiment. Greg A. Johnson, 1985, says, from another galaxy came a new threat, an entire species of what look like adult male humans, in costumes that resemble mascots of sports teams, or breakfast cereal brands, resembling cartoon animals. They came. That would be pretty cool and pretty hilarious. I'd read that. Just imagine the Smacks frog just curb stomping like a space marine, or Frankenberry, Tony the Tiger. That'd be hilarious. I'd watch that for sure. Lunar Dragon 33 says, does that mean that the Khan died in the webway because he wasn't mentioned? Maybe, maybe not. Again, the whole thing with like the missing Primarks like Vulcan, Corvus Corax, Jagdtycon, their stories are to be told later in the era of Warhammer 50k. So that's why I didn't bring them in. His second question is, second question would be what happened with Harlequins and the rest of the craft worlds if only the Drukhari, Exodites, and Inari fought Slaanesh. So the thing about the Eldar that I didn't really want to go too in depth, I kind of mentioned it towards the end of their little lore section, is that They already banded together once, went into chaos, and freed Isha. If a dying race can do this, like, what can't they do? So they have like a new sense of confidence, a new sense of like righteousness, that their time is back. Like, they freed one of their goddesses. They're banding together again. This galaxy could be theirs if they played their cards right. So, with all of them banding together, they are going into the warp to take out Slaanesh. And seeing that many of the Chaos demons are in real space, Chaos is pretty vulnerable. So who knows what the era of 50k will bring for the Eldar? More victory, or maybe their defeat. So again, that's another open-ended segue for the Eldar that would be touched based on at a different time. John Hippolyte. In your opinion, what's more grimdark, the 40k universe or the Berserk manga universe? I think definitely Berserk. Because with 40k, you often get like the smaller scale battles and like the more personal experiences overlooked by like these grand scale wars, planets blowing up. With Berserk, you really get to see how it really affects people on a personal basis. And I think you get to see more of the grimdark, more of the hopelessness, the bleakness in that manner. So I'd go with Berserk. Michael McDonald says, "This was awesome, Sound A. This grabbed my attention like crazy. Thanks for starting my day off right. Now I have something to wonder about while mindlessly walking around and doing my job." I'm in the same boat as you. For some reason, when I'm at work, that's where I get all these ideas and I like have to jot them down. But as soon as I go home, I'm just like, I'm done, I'm pooped, I'm here to relax. I don't want to do anything. It's not good because work doesn't get done that way. But yeah, thanks for the kind words, and glad I can help create more theories on 40k, because that's basically what I wanted to do with this video. I wanted to show you my interpretation of what I think the end times of 40k could be, and I wanted to see what the community thought, and see what things they liked, what things they didn't like, what changes they wanted to see. And it's really interesting to really get a grasp as to, like, do you guys want the Emperor to become a god, or should he be reincarnated or just done away with? So it's cool to see what the community thinks. Shadowgrid says, "When he said 3 warriors and called out the last name, I fucking lost my mind and tears filled my eyes." So again, this goes to show you the impact that these characters have. These 3 warriors of the Emperor, the angels of the Emperor, were Saint Celestine, Ferrus Manus, and Sanguinius. So yes, Sanguinius is loved by all. Probably my favorite Primark too. So again, the return of a beloved Primark really affects people. And that just goes to show you that, hey, these characters leave impacting, it impacts people's lives. Last one is by Mercedes Oleton. "Nothing happens in 40k for 7,000 years, and then boom, everything happens in 50 years. So the end times of 40k, they actually lasted from the Emperor's death 665 days. So that's how long it took for the forces of chaos to muster and go from the Cicatrice Maledictum to Terra. For on the 666th day, that's where the battle on Mars happened, and eventually the battle on Terra with the Emperor coming back via apotheosis and becoming a god. So it didn't happen in 50 years, 666. So it also kind of ties in with the same chapter that decided to press the Terminus Decree, the 666 Space Marine chapter, aka the Grey Knights. So again, Grey Knights kind of were the ones responsible really for the Emperor's ascension. Well, I guess humanity too, because they're the ones that were believing in him, and I guess you could say that it's Lorgar's doing, because he's the one that put the Imperial Creed into effect and whatnot. So But that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you for listening. Thanks for all these questions, all these replies. I'm just crazed as how the reception for this was. Mostly good, some bad, but even then, like the criticism you guys have, it makes sense. Like this could be Warhammer 40k Age of Sigmar, because again, like I feel like GW plays it safe very often, and like the whole thing with Warhammer Fantasy becoming Age of Sigmar could be a mirror towards Warhammer 40k going into Warhammer 50k. But anyway, that's all I got for today. I will be doing more videos going a little bit more in detail with the factions for the 50k era. So stay tuned for that. I already put one out explaining the Emperor and his Army of the Light, which I'll also link at the end of the video. And if you haven't seen the video, again, check it out. That's all I got for today. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you then.